Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Josh Dragon here, and today we are going to be starting another LP run of Mega Man 1 for the NES. It's been a very long time, of course, since my last LP. I think it's been probably about a year or so. I've just had a lot going on, and really missed doing these LPs, and I was thinking, if I was to get back into it, which one would I want to do? And the Mega Man series was really popping out at me, so I thought, what, let's just try doing Mega Man 1 again. I have done this game before, and actually I think I did it in 2014, and we're coming up on the 30-year anniversary of Mega Man, which is crazy for me to believe. So I thought, well, maybe it's the right time to pull this game back out again, and let's give it a try. So we're going to be starting this LP off with Bomb Man. Bomb Man is probably one of my favorite robot masters in this game, and I really love the music in his levels, so he's the one I always like to do first. Aside from that, his stage is also very, very easy. Most of the enemies in this level will go down to one hit, and Bomb Man himself is also pretty simple, so it's a very good decision probably to do him first. The Sniper Joe guys are kind of tricky. I always find them to be a little bit difficult, especially in this game. My one tip would be to try to shoot them when they're jumping, because they're, of course, vulnerable then, and you won't have to worry about taking any damage from them. Most of these things are pretty easy. The bullet bills and the gun turrets and all those enemies are very easy to navigate around. This part's a little bit tricky, but if you get going quickly, you can just manage to avoid the bullet bill there. And then just pop up and shoot that little helmet guy, and you can easily get past all this stuff. This is a pretty easy stage to beat without getting hit, I must say. Then I like to take out that sniper guy there so I can pick up the 1-up, and we'll have one more to fight here. Now, in Mega Man 1, there's usually one enemy, sometimes a giant enemy, that's blocking the gate at the end, and this is something that would become a staple in the series. But in Bomb Man's level, we have a relatively easy enemy to kill, that sniper guy with the shield. It's pretty easy. Enemy to kill, so that's kind of a nice thing about his stage. It's another reason probably want to take him on first, is that, again, the enemies in this level are just really easy to beat. I actually got hit going down the ladder there. Haven't had that happen in quite a long time, but, irregardless, these guys that move back and forth like that are really simple. Alright, so we're up to Bomb Man, and the thing about Bomb Man is that he doesn't like to be in close proximity to Mega Man, so if you ever need to get away from his bombs, actually you want to move towards him, which will make him kind of jump away from you. I did get hit a couple times in this fight, just because I'm a little bit rusty, but really, he's very easy to beat, and you could probably beat him without getting hit without that much difficulty. But just grab the power-up when you're done, and we will be moving on to the next Robot Master, which is going to be Guts Man. And Guts Man is going to be worth 80,000 points. This is another thing that they did away with in the sequel games, is they got rid of the scoring system. But I actually kind of think it's a cool, little gimmick in this game. Well, albeit though it is pretty pointless. Now, Guts Man has probably the hardest level in the game in terms of platforming, I would say, because of this early part. You could maybe make an counter-argument to that with Iceman, but Guts Man's is pretty hard. This takes some pretty good timing, but the important thing to note here is you want to jump just before you get to that little dotted part on the conveyor belt, and that'll get you across very consistently. I've died on that point many times, so it definitely takes a fair bit of practice to get good at that. But his level is actually very short. That's definitely the only really hard part to it. You can also use the bomb to take out those construction worker robots. It's probably a little bit more inconvenient, but if anything, probably just using the buster works better here. I'll just slide down here. Take out a couple more of these flying helicopter enemies. It's kind of tricky to get in between these ledges, but you can actually pick up all these items for the most part. The one-up, if you do a slight run at the very end and even a little hop, you can get right over there and pick that up. And then this is going to be our first encounter with the Guardian. This is a giant enemy, very difficult to kill. As you can tell, he just got me there. The Guardian unfortunately takes a lot of hits and will take off a fair bit of your health, which is never a good thing, especially if you're lower on health going into that point. So my health is pretty low at this point, and there's actually another thing I'll mention here is there's enemies in between the gateways, so you can get some additional health if you need it, but I won't be needing it against Gutsman because he goes down to 3 bombs, and there is a little trick you can do where you can jump at the very last minute to avoid him paralyzing the ground, and if you do it correctly, and which I did not do it there, but still, he's pretty easy. You can usually beat him without getting hit. In fact, I don't think I did get hit in that fight, but it's a very simple one. Again, I really have to commend him on the graphics. The artwork in this game just looks great. So now we're going on to Cutman. Cutman is weak to Gutsman, which I guess that kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's like the rock, paper, scissors, you know, gimmick, if you will. Now this is a cool thing about doing Gutsman's level before Cutman, and that's that you can pick up these boulders or these stone blocks and you can throw them at the enemies, and it's kind of a neat thing. I think it's really more of a gimmick as opposed to having any real practical use, because the enemies respawn, especially those helicopter guys, very quickly, and it doesn't really help with the level, to be honest with you, that much, if any. So I don't really, I wouldn't recommend doing him first just to get that weapon. It's just kind of a cool thing to have it, but it's definitely not essential for this level. Now there is a certain level where the Guts arm is essential for progressing through the game, but we'll be getting to that in the next part. Cutman also has a cool looking level. I mean, it almost looks like you're going through a castle or something like that. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's definitely very interesting looking. So I know the original game has had some criticism as opposed to, you know, like the later games for being more basic and being more difficult, and also I think possibly a little bit unfair due to the fact that it's, you know, it has some kind of cheapness in terms of the deaths, you know, getting killed immediately if you get bounced on the spikes, and that does make it harder, plus the fact that you don't have the save states, and the AI of certain enemies can make things a little bit more on the unfair side, and it's just in certain spots in this game. But actually, if anything, I think it's probably one of the easier games because you don't have as many robot masters to kill, and more importantly, there aren't any extra additional levels in the Wily Castles, which makes it a lot easier than, let's say, you know, Mega Man 3 was. And this one's really, I mean, most of these levels are not real long either, so it's a pretty short, easy game to beat that you can, you know, you could really do this in one sitting if you're pretty well versed in it. stone block. Why not? Take out the turret guys. Or they're not really the turret guys, they're the enemy that goes back and forth. And also, I mean, for the most part, for a platformer, we haven't really had any difficult levels. The early part in Gutsman stage is pretty tough, but other than that, this has all been, you know, very simple. You know, very few points really where we were in any real danger of dying. So, that will change a little bit in the later levels in Wily's Castle, and in particular, in Iceman's. Unfortunately, I just got hit by that Guardian, you know, giant robot there, but this is another little cool Easter egg thing you can do. You can take this stone block in to the boss room. You can actually fight Cutman with it, but I'm not going to do that. That would probably be a little cheap, and he's easy enough to beat, so I'm not going to be doing that. I think the last LP I did of this game, I actually did do that just for fun, but you can beat him very fast that way. So you've got two of these stone blocks, and the important thing to note here about Cutman is that he's extremely weak to these blocks. He's actually the weakest of the Robot Masters because he'll take 2 pellets of damage for every 1 hit that he gets, unlike the other ones. But he'll also get hit. I got damage boosted onto the power up there, which is kind of a crappy way to finish the stage. But anyway, he'll take 2 pellets, or he'll go down with 2 of those stone blocks. So he's very easy to beat. Definitely a good candidate to take him on first if you need to. Alright guys, so that does it for my first part of Mega Man 1 on the NES, and I want to thank you so much for watching this LP. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to give me a thumbs up, and also leave me a comment and subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you guys again, and I will see you at the next one. This is Josh Dragon, signing out.